Alright, so it's been a few hours since I beat the Sonic Frontiers Update 3, and I figured I would give my thoughts on it. Now, some of you who saw my live stream may be thinking, hold on, he didn't beat Update 3 on the stream, he got stuck on the trial. Yes, I did, but I ended up finishing on my own time, because I figured I could go live and stream it again, but I don't really want to. And I kind of just on a whim said, fuck it, I need to beat this thing. So I just beat it, and you know, I didn't know if it was gonna take me 5 hours or 2 hours or anything. I just didn't want to go live and play this thing again. I'm sorry. I finished the update. This is gonna be an unscripted video of me just giving my thoughts, basically. There's not gonna be any crazy editing. I just want to talk about my experience. Most of the footage used will be from the stream, but in 4K because I was recording as I was live. But yeah, we're pretty much gonna just get into my thoughts. So we're gonna get into all this right now. But if subscribe to the channel already, please make sure to subscribe, okay? So you probably think, okay, what's his thoughts on the update? Did he like it? Did he not like it? Was it good? Was it bad? And I mean, look, it's both. It's both good and both bad. It's not in the middle. I don't think that's the right way to describe this. It's both really good stuff and really fucking annoying stuff at the same time, right? It's kind of like watching Sonic Movie 2, and it's like, oh, this is so amazing, and Knuckles and Idris Elba is so good, and the dialogue between Sonic and Knuckles is, and then the human scenes. Oh, this is so good, Sonic and Knuckles, and da-da-da-da. And then you see Wade on the screen. It's like it's like that. That's how I felt playing this update. I'm like, playable Tails, Knuckles, Amy. I mean, they weren't perfect. They had some really annoying delays, like trying to stomp and then there's a delay, and trying to glide and there's a delay, trying to turn and Knuckles doesn't want to fucking turn. It was some weird shit with the characters, like, but they were still fun to play for the most part. They were still, for the most part, fun, but it's just some bullshit, right? Things that could be tweaked in updates, to be fair, like make a better glide, like make a better directional, you know, situation. Amy was probably the most fun of the new characters. I think her abilities were the most interesting, the tarot cards and things like that. I enjoyed Amy, I think, the most, you know, even though typically I'd probably prefer playing as like a Knuckles or a Tails, but because Knuckles is climbing is gimped, you can't climb on everything, it means that he's not going to be as fun as like say in SA1 or SA2. SA2 obviously had his best glide and his best stomp ability, really, but yeah, I mean, the characters could use some work in terms of tweaking their abilities and like improving certain issues, but I didn't have any major issues. I mean, Tails not having a homing attack was stupid, and the side blaster doesn't aim the same way the wrench does. Like, you throw a wrench, it will aim at things like objects, but the side blaster thing doesn't. So a few stupid things. But yeah, I think overall I liked the characters. You know, it was for the most part good. Then you got the Towers of Sonic, right? And I think we got to split this into like two sections, because you got like the platforming and then you got like the combat stuff, right? And yeah, that was also cyberspace, but let's be honest, I don't really give a fuck about cyberspace. I haven't even tried any of the new cyberspace levels. I unlocked one of them. I haven't tried it. I couldn't be bothered. So I'm not really gonna rank cyberspace. I don't care, okay? It seems that Kishimoto, just like usual Sonic team, or even just like Sonic fans, don't really understand nuance, right? It's like Sonic fans will be like, well, you guys asked for difficulty, right? And he gave it to you, right? So you can't complain. It's like, oh, what a gross oversimplification of the matter. Okay, cool. Kishimoto's been known for some piss-easy Sonic games, namely Sonic Colors, you know, and I guess he's finally taken that to heart and said, okay, we'll make something harder, which, okay, good, make something harder, right? But increasing the difficulty means making more interesting challenges. It doesn't just mean removing lifelines, like taking away checkpoints or taking away the stats that you spent the whole save file, however many hours, working so hard to build, right? I don't think that's what good difficulty is. Now, good and bad difficulty is subjective, because some people like that brutal shit. Some people like that Mega Man 1 type shit, or that remove all of the checkpoints type shit, those at the end of the 3D Mario games type shit. Some people like that, okay? I'm not one of those people. I don't like having to retry a shit ton of things that I already did just because I died like so much later. I will never like that. I've never liked it, okay? I beat Darker Side of Super Mario Odyssey, and the whole time I was just like annoyed, because it was like, yeah, the level design was fun. I enjoyed it, but it was like, why I gotta start from the beginning though? Why I gotta do all this again? And some people like that gauntlet style shit, okay? I'm not saying that it's bad for everyone. It's bad for me and a lot of people, but it's not bad for everyone, okay? Checkpoints exist for a reason. Old games that got re-released added save states because they knew that they were so like strict with how much you had to redo if you messed up a little bit, right? And that's kind of the theme of this update, right? The platforming challenges, I enjoyed them, okay? The Tails Knuckle Amy one, I don't really think you need checkpoints for those because those weren't that long, but like the 5 towers that you had to climb, like you fall down and it's like you're back to the beginning, right? And if your game crashes on you when you get to the top, which it did for a lot of us, then you're gonna have to do it again, right? It doesn't save, so it's very annoying. But I love the platforming challenges themselves. I like that he stepped up the platforming. I love that he focused on 3D. I love that he didn't make it piss easy, but it was just so punishing, right? Like, this is why it felt like it was harder than Eggman Land, because Eggman Land, right, was still hard, and I love Eggman Land, but there were checkpoints everywhere. And Unleashed was actually the first Sonic game to have respawnable 1-ups. When I mean respawnable, I mean like, in 06, like if you grabbed the 1-up in a level and then you died, say the 1-up was after a checkpoint. When you go back to where that 1-up used to be, there's no life there anymore. It's gone. You've already used it. In Unleashed, you would put a 1-up before a tough section, and every time you died or went back to that section, the 1-up will be there again. So that if you kept dying in that section, you wouldn't even run out of lives. Obviously, Frontiers doesn't have to worry about that specific thing because there's no lives in the game, but the fact that there's no lifelines in a lot of these towers is a big issue for a lot of people. But I'm pretty decent at platforming challenges, so I didn't struggle too much with the towers. I mean, I messed up here and there, but it wasn't until the final tower where it was like, it crashed on me and I had to do it again, where I became so frustrated that I started messing up and it took me longer to beat it the second time. But yeah, as for the trials, insane difficulty spikes. Like 1 minute it's like a basic ass trial where you got to defeat some OP ninja where you can just spam a move, and then you got another trial where it's like we stripped you of all your abilities and you gotta like side loop and attack the thing, and that one was kind of tough at first, but it's pretty simple to cheese, which it's kind of how a lot of these things are. Like if we look at the Titan battles, right, even before the update, right, the Titans are always a bit weird. Like they seem really tough and then you realize there's some cheese and then you cheese it, right? Like I was struggling to finish the night boss in time for the trials, and I realized after watching a YouTube video that if you abuse the spin slash, it becomes really easy. But if you don't realize the cheese, you're going to be sitting there frustrated. And again, this is not me trying to slander Frontiers in and of itself, because this is an issue that Sonic Team has had for years where certain things weren't explained properly and certain things weren't as intuitive. Like even in my favorite game ever, Sonic Heroes, right? Egg Emperor, people be struggling on Egg Emperor and they think it's the hardest thing ever. And I've done this multiple times, I'm telling you. I've gone into like Twitch streams where someone was struggling on Egg Emperor, like their first time or whatever, and I'll just be like, level 2 Thundershoot. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not even hard. This has happened for years. It's not a Frontiers exclusive thing, although it's a bit more severe here because of the gauntlet that they did at the 5th trial. See, the regular Titans, you can use all your stats, you got your rings, you got higher damage, so it's not as painful, right? The perfect parry is kind of annoying because the cues for when you're supposed to parry are not that quote unquote perfect. You can't really see exactly when you're supposed to hit the parry button. So you don't even know if you were too early or you were too late. Sometimes it's like you have to like trial and error to figure out the perfect moment. Whereas in a game that relies heavily on perfect parry, you would think that there's some kind of, I don't know, HUD indicator or a stronger audio indicator that makes it clear when you're supposed to perfect parry. Now again, you're just doing it once with all your stats. It is what it is. But when you make me perfect parry and then I got to do 3 challenges with level 1 stats, then you start to see how annoying it becomes. I have to do 3 Titans back to back to back with the same 400 rings. I gotta go through the unskippable cutscenes, the long red running section before Wyvern, which is over a minute long of just quick step. Come on, over a minute. Can't skip the cutscenes, can't skip the run-ups. If it was just Supersonic to Supersonic on the 2nd Titan to Supersonic on the 3rd Titan, then it'll be a bit more tolerable. But then you gotta restart, and when you restart, it's not the hard parts that piss you off the most. It's actually the slow drudgery parts that piss you off the most. The cutscenes and the same shit over and over again. It's like, I don't need to climb Giganto again. Can I just start with the action, please? But yes, the trials, really fucking annoying. Really annoying. I had it on hard, and in the end, I ended the stream. I couldn't beat it on hard. I ended the stream. I had to beat it on my own time on easy, and I switched it back to hard afterwards to do Supreme at the end. I couldn't be bothered to do it on hard. It was too fucking hard, and it's not the good kind of hard, right? Because it's the difference between a good challenge and a bad challenge, right? And again, good and bad is subjective. subjective, but the feelings, I think, apply to everything, right? Because a good challenge is still tough, but you're enjoying it even when you're failing. Even when you're messing up and you're dying or whatever, you're still really having fun. Like, that's what a good challenge feels like. But a bad challenge feels like you're forcing yourself to do it. Like, it's fucking annoying. Like, I hate this, but I'm gonna do it because gamer pride, or I need to get to the next section of the game or whatever. A good challenge, once beaten, you want to go back to it and try and do even better. Like, I enjoy that, I want to go and do it again. But a bad challenge is like, once you've beaten it, it's like, I'm never touching this again, right? And again, this is subjective to how you feel, right? Some people beat Eggman Land and never touched it again. With me, like, I loved Eggman Land even the first time when it took me almost an hour to beat. And now that I can beat it in under 15 minutes, I still like Eggman Land. I liked going back and getting better, right? I technically never did the hot dog mission, even though I've beaten Eggman Land without dying, but I didn't do it in the hot dog mission. But the point is, a good challenge makes you want to go back, right? Like, Generations is an amazing game, and it's also a very easy game, right? But you could easily just make a quick update for Generations and say extreme mode, and then you take the game and you say you get no rings, you go in 1-hit kills, no lives, no saves, no nothing. You play the game from classic Green Hill to modern Green Hill, etc, to time eater, and if you take 1 hit, you go back to classic Green Hill from the beginning. We've made a hard game. This is genuine intelligence. You want it hard, right? Here you go. And it's like, no, don't be an idiot. Don't listen wrongly just because it makes it sound like you made a good point. You didn't make a good point. I asked you for some space and you bought a spaceship. That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. Make genuine challenge, not artificial bullshit by turning up some sliders or turning down some stats and just calling it a day. Again, I think the platforming itself was genuine. Like, I liked the platforming challenges besides the lack of lifelines. The Titan fight, the 5th trial thing, I never want to see again in my life. I don't think forcing you to retry a lot of shit is a good challenge in my opinion. Okay, you can disagree, that's how I feel. The way I see it, the trials should have let you keep your stats. Like, keep my 999 rings, keep my damage, keep all the shit that I worked hard for. If you want to make it harder in a genuine way, then add some new attack or something that's a bit more crazy. But then don't just strip me of my stats and make me do level 1 output on the 3rd and 2nd Titan when I didn't even do level 1 on the 1st Titan in the main game. If you wanted to make it a bit more intriguing, you know, given that you'd have way more rings, then you could put in a ranking system, which I don't see how they never added a ranking system to the combat in this game. But you put in a ranking system based on like how many rings you used. Like, if you got 999 rings to do the trial, then if you use a lot less rings, then you get an S rank. So let's say you finish it in under, I don't know, under 150 rings, then they give you an S. You know, 200, 250 rings, A or whatever, and you keep going until you get the E rank, right? Every other Sonic game has done shit like this, right? Ranking system, right? So you don't have to make the trial that painful, but it's like, if you sucked at it, but you still beat it with like 10 rings left, then you get an E rank or whatever, cool. And if you actually were good, you get the S rank. I don't see why they had to make it so punishing. Like, I don't believe Kishimoto actually playtested this thing himself. I think he just said, crank this thing up, make a gauntlet, get some, you know, employee, lower level, you know, playtester to try it and make sure it works, and then he called it. I don't actually think Kishimoto sat there on hard mode and beat that 5th trial. I don't believe he did it, and I would pay money to watch him do it. I don't think he did. Anyway, that's how I feel about the trials. And it's a shame too, because again, the platforming was fun. You know, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy were fun, but rough around the edges, of course. You know, I think Amy was the best character. Tails was probably 2nd best, I guess. Knuckles was rougher than the rest of them. But yeah, that's how I feel about the update. I don't know if I have a grade for it. It's kind of similar to how I feel about the base game, I guess. I mean, it's a bit weird because, like, if you were confident enough in the update, you should have just made that the true ending, right? But it's like a separate portal to a separate ending, but the regular ending is still on the main save file. And I'm guessing the only reason they did it that way is because, well, I guess people already beat the game the old way, so we can't just erase that and then, you know, I guess we just put a portal there and say alternative ending. But maybe it would have been good to just make this the only ending, but just improve it so it wasn't complete bullshit at certain times. But I don't know, right? Because it's weird, because Rhea Island was already towers, even though it was based on Kronos. So Uranus almost feels like it's stealing the thunder of Rhea now, because it's like now Rhea's got the simple automated towers, and then you go to Uranus, which has more towers. It's like you kind of just did Rhea 2.0, but I would say for the most part better. So it's almost like too much of the same now. I don't know. I like both Rhea and Uranus. I think both of them can exist, but it's just the fact that now they're back to back. It feels like you just kind of made it a bit more excessive, you know, in terms of the pacing of the game. I don't know. But I guess the question is, have I ranked Sonic Frontiers higher now that this update has come out? And the answer is I really don't know, right? I gave it a low B. I gave it like a 7 when it first came out, and I felt like I was being generous because I was tempted to give it like a 6.8, 6.9, but I gave it the 7. Now I think it's, you know, I think it deserves to stay in the 7 area. Maybe it's a 7 point something, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, I don't know, but I wouldn't put it in 8 territory. For me, like a 9+ is an S, 8 is like an A, 7 is like B. It's still in B, but I've kind of moved it up a little bit, but at the same time, it's just like, they put some bullshit in there that's like, if I wanted to do another playthrough of Sonic Frontiers, I just wouldn't do it, right? This is probably how people feel about things like the Werehog, because like, they'll be like, I love Unleashed, but I hate the Werehog, and it's like, they'll use their completed save file to just play the day stages and have extra levels or whatever. That's how those people felt. I love the Werehog, so I play the whole game, but this is kind of how I feel with Frontiers. It's like, I love Kronos Island, I love Ares Island, I didn't like Chaos Island, even though aesthetically it was so beautiful, but from a level design standpoint, it was horrible. And then I really enjoyed Rhea, even though it was pretty simple. It's not really a full island, but I enjoyed Rhea. And original Uranus, I still enjoyed it. I mean, it was just like, you know, Kronos, but tougher, but I still enjoyed Uranus original. And the new Uranus is like full of things that I love and hate. And obviously I still feel like Cyberspace is booty. I'm just talking about the main Cyberspace levels, not the new ones that I haven't played. I can't judge those ones. So if I'm doing a new playthrough, am I gonna take the regular ending, or do I just get to the portal and do the alternative ending? The regular ending is more underwhelming, but the alternative ending has got so much bullshit in between the stuff I like, which is the platforming stuff, that do I really want to go through that again? Do I want to do the trials again just to have to set it to easy just to get a bit more parry leeway? I don't really want to do that. So it's kind of made me torn. I don't know if I talked about the final Supreme fight. I think cutscenes I'm not really going to tell you much about. I don't really care that much about the story. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I don't care that much. But in terms of like the boss itself, like Supreme again, I think they did a decent job at making it feel less mid and underwhelming compared to the original Supreme, because the original Supreme was the most underwhelming Titan of them all, right? But I think Izuku is so afraid of bringing back Hypersonic that he's just like, well, we'll just make Supersonic 2 and call it a day. And I guess it worked for him, but then they kind of had some kind of cyber transition, but we didn't get to control it because it was in the cutscene. So what the fuck was the point of that? I don't know. An issue I've had with the Titans since the beginning is that they were always pretty unintuitive as to what you're supposed to do at a certain section. Like here, you know, in Wyvern, it's like you're supposed to dodge one missile and then he'll hit you. The Wyvern will hit you and then you attack. And then the next time he hits you twice, and it's like sometimes things just aren't clear. And in this Supreme boss, I feel like it was the most unclear. Like even in the original Supreme, there's a part where you just attack his head. The same head you've been attacking that's been dealing damage, and then they're like, oh, now at this point, if you attack his head, it's not dealing any damage because you have to go back and hit one of those triangular, your whatever things before he will take damage again. It's like, but I'm hitting his head. Why is it not dealing damage? Even some of the platforming sections were like that with Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, where you needed a certain ability to be able to do something, but it doesn't mention it until someone in the chat of your live stream tells you, oh, you need that thing, or you need to have the SA2 mech to fly to that area. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize I needed that skill to beat this thing. And with the final boss, it was like so many moments like what do I do, right? So you get rid of the cord and then you're attacking him, and then the core comes back, but you're supposed to side loop something above where the core was, and then the gun comes out, and then you gotta side loop the gun, but the side loop has a gauge and your gauge is run out, so you gotta build your gauge up again. It's like, really? So in terms of feeling, I guess it felt more end worthy than the original Supreme, but was it a better fight? I don't know if it was better. It's very hard to deduce. I don't know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this. I don't really know what else to say. I know people are calling it like Dark Souls and things like that, but again, I see like Dark Souls and games like that as a bit more of a fair challenge. Like, I don't like the whole like idea in Dark Souls or whatever, like when you die and you have to retry a bunch of shit, or like run through the environment, go through the minions again just to get to the boss. I prefer what they did in like Elden Ring, where they put like the little checkpoint right before bosses and things like that. But the actual fights felt fair. Like, they felt bullshit, but at the same time, it's like I knew that I was being too greedy and I was attacking too much and not dodging and things like that. But with the Titans, it always felt a bit janky. Like, it was never truly fair. And when you take something that's not truly fair and then you make a gauntlet out of it, then those things that were truly not that fair get blown up. And I think that's what's happened here. I almost kind of wish someone took like the towers, like all 5 towers, and just combined it into one mega tower that was just like one level. Like, I don't know, put it in cyberspace, like a mod or something. Just take all the platforming from the 5 towers and make it into one big level, add checkpoints, remove the trials, and just let me play that as a level, and I would play that, right? You could even do the same with the rear towers as well. Like, I would play those tower platformings as levels. But like, do I really want to, like, go through the trials again? No. I mean, some of them were basic as fuck, but in general, I just don't have a desire, okay? Frontiers is not a bad game, but it's not S tier or A tier in my opinion. But I'm glad they added an update. I'm glad they tried to fix some things, but there's definitely a lot more they could have done. I know some people are saying, well, it's a free update, so we can't complain or we can't critique it, how Twitter be. But at the end of the day, that this is shit that they wanted to put in the game in the first place, but they couldn't because they wanted to get the game out earlier because, it'd already been 5 years. They were taking their sweet time. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this. What was your favorite part of the update? What was your least favorite part of the update? What was your favorite character to play as besides Sonic? But yeah, man, thanks you guys for watching. It's been real. The Remy out.